but we do have enough to get started, so we'll start as a subcommittee. First bill that we're going to hear is item number 2, Senate Bill 19. Senator Wolk.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members. I want to begin by accepting the amendment as reflected in the analysis as an author's amendment.
Thank you.
In 2008, I authored AB 3000, which created the POST form, the California Physicians' Orders for Life-Sustaining Treatment. That's a standardized form, looks like this, that ensures, can't miss it, that ensures a patient's wishes are honored regarding medical treatment at the end of life. SB 19 will establish the California POST statewide registry within Health and Human Services to secure an electronic record of a person's POST orders. The POST form is frequently lost, not easily transmitted between healthcare settings, especially in an emergency. This often results in unwanted, aggressive, and costly care. In April of this year, the Healthcare Foundation conducted a study to assess whether establishing a registry in California would be feasible. They indeed concluded it would. Having POST forms available through a registry would make it possible for medical personnel to quickly access the form, honor patients' wishes, which is the most important thing. With me today is Judy Thomas, Executive Director of the Coalition for Compassionate Care of California, Dr. Carrie Ann Drayton, who's an emergency physician. They will testify in support of the bill. Thank you again for working with me and my staff. This has received unanimous bipartisan support. I ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Senator. Your first witness, please.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. This is Judy Thomas, CEO of the Coalition for Compassionate Care, and we've been the lead for POST here in California since 2007. Hundreds of thousands of Californians who are seriously ill rely on the POST form in order to ensure that their medical treatment wishes are honored. Having a registry would be the next step to help ensure that those treatment wishes are communicated across our healthcare across our healthcare system as people change between settings. We urge an aye vote.
Thank you. Your next witness, please.
Good morning. My name is Carrie Ann Drayton. I work here in downtown Sacramento at Sutter General. I just want to give my support for this registry. When patients come in at any critical situation, one of the first things I look for is that pink POST form, and oftentimes I can't find it. Having a registry that I could quickly access to find that information to best serve the patient when they come and see me would be extremely valuable. I urge an aye vote.
Thank you. Next witness.
Mr. Chair and members, Tim Madden, representing the California chapter of the American College of Emergency Physicians, in support.
Thank you. Any other witnesses in support? Seeing none, is there any opposition? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the committee. Any questions from committee members? Mr. Chu.
Move the bill.
We just established a quorum, so let us establish a quorum first. We just got there.
Stone.
Here.
Wagner.
Here.
Alejo. Chow.
Here.
Chu.
Here.
Gallagher. Garcia.
Here.
Weber.
Here.
Mainshine.
Here.
Thurmond.
We do have a quorum, so I will now take your motion, Mr. Chu. And we do have a motion and a second. Any further questions, comments? Senator, you may close.
I ask for your aye vote, and thank you.
Thank you. The motion is due pass as amended to appropriations. Call the roll, please.
Stone.
Aye.
Stone, aye. Wagner.
Aye.
Wagner, aye. Alejo. Chow.
Aye.
Chow, aye. Chu.
Aye.
Chu, aye. Gallagher. Garcia.
Aye.
Garcia, aye. Weber.
Aye.
Weber, aye. Mainshine.
Aye.
Mainshine, aye. Thurmond.
Your bill is out.
Thank you very much.
That now brings us to Senator Jackson, who has two bills. Item number 4, SB 142, and item number 12, SB 387.
Good morning,
morning.
Mr. Chair and members. I'd like to start with SB 142.
That's great.
Thank you. SB 142 would prohibit the use of unmanned aircraft systems, also known as drones, in the airspace above your property without your permission. Existing law protects the privacy of California residents in their homes, both by prohibiting others from entering onto their land without permission, where you have a reasonable expectation of privacy. This bill clarifies how these long-standing principles of trespass and privacy apply to the new technology of unmanned or unstaffed aircraft, to be gender appropriate. Drones have a lot of potentially useful and extremely innovative purposes. They are an exciting technology. But invading our privacy and property without permission or legal authority should not be one of them. Just as I can't walk into your backyard without your permission, I shouldn't be able to fly my drone in your backyard while you're enjoying the outdoors with your family. This is not just an issue for homeowners. The proliferation of these unmanned aerial vehicles has raised questions for the American Chemistry Council about potential security threats to critical infrastructure such as chemical plants, refineries, and electricity generating facilities. This bill clarifies and reinforces California's existing law on trespass in an important way. It clarifies that trespassing includes entry onto someone else's land with a drone. This bill essentially recognizes a zone up to 350 feet above the ground where you, as a property owner, have the right to exclude drones that are operated in a manner that invades privacy. It wouldn't affect what people do on their own land, for example, like farmers who use drones to monitor their crops, nor would it restrict what people can do on their own property or on public streets or in public parks. It only addresses flying drones onto someone else's land, into someone else's backyard, without their permission. Drone technology, as I mentioned, is exciting and offers great commercial and recreational opportunities in California, but we need to make it clear what the rules are. Right now, there are essentially no rules. This is a very simple explanation that trespass also includes trespass with a drone. And by extending the long-established concepts of trespass and privacy to include drone operations, this bill brings these concepts into the 21st century. The bill isn't unprecedented. Indeed, the state of Oregon has a trespass bill with a height limit of 400 feet. This measure is an important first step in creating a balance for the privacy concerns of Californians and the use of unmanned vehicles. With that, I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you. Your first witness in support.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Randy Pollock on behalf of the American Chemistry Council. And as Senator Jackson indicated, we're very concerned about our infrastructure, the chemical plants, oil refineries, and the safety measures. You know, our utmost importance to us is protecting our contractors, our employees, and the people who live in the surrounding areas. And we believe that there needs to be some sort of regulation in this area, because when you have drones fly over, they can come in, they could crash, they could create havoc among some of our equipment. We're also concerned of what it could attract in the future, whether it's some sort of espionage, because this is such critical to our security. So we're very pleased with this bill. We think it's a step in the right direction, and we know that in the future there's going to be more legislation in this area, but we believe this is a very good start. And I'll just also add, in addition to some other states, Nevada just recently passed a law very similar to this one as well. So thank you.
Thank you. Other witnesses in support? Anyone else like to weigh in, please?
Danielle Kando-Kaiser, on behalf of the Privacy Rights Clearinghouse, we urge your aye vote.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right. Opposition.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and members. We actually aren't in opposition. We have not taken a position on the bill, and want to thank the author and our office for engaging on the one concern that we've raised is that we want to be as clear as possible.
Could you identify yourself for our record?
I'm sorry, John Doherty with TechNet.
Thank you.
We just want to be as clear as possible that the sort of activities that the author would like to prohibit, which we're supportive of doing that, doesn't interfere with the commercial activities that are planned with drones, that are some of the benefits that we could see in terms of reduced pollution, reduced traffic. I believe the author has pretty clearly extended common law defenses for property and believes that that's sufficient. We would like to continue talking on this topic because we'd prefer a specific commercial exemption to the bill. But with that, I'll leave you to your discussion. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in opposition?
Good morning. My name is Bruce Parks. I'm with the Silicon Valley Association of Unmanned Vehicle and also representing our national association at this point. We're going to have to, at the time, speak in opposition to this legislation. We've been in long conversations with the senator and her staff, and we understand we understand the reasoning behind what the senator is attempting to do, and we would like to continue to work with her. However, as it is currently written, we see that the legislation will effectively prohibit the use of drones over low-level flight, which will really stifle the industry. And we don't think that we can accept that. We have to have some sort of exemption for commercially licensed operations. We feel very strongly that without that type of stipulation, that the industry itself is going to be stifled, and we believe that that's just not something that we can accept. I may also point out that when you're talking about what we consider to be bad operators, we don't see the commercial operators as being a group of people that are willfully going to be violating people's privacy or trespassing on their property. We really see the people who are doing that as being, the hobbyist, and we want to draw a clear delineation between the hobbyist and the commercial operators. And one thing I need to point out is that if you are a licensed operator, the FAA can simply step in and stop that operation. And I think that that's probably a better direction to go than trying to regulate and stifle this very growing, we believe to be important industry. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else in opposition? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the committee. Questions, comments? Mr. Chu?
Thank you, Senator. Thank you for bringing this legislation forward. I am very open to supporting it. I do have a question based on some of the comments that have been raised. My sense is it's not your intent to shut down potential future commercial applications of drones, and specifically, for example, deliveries of goods if there is consent provided by someone living on that property. What I read from your bill is that as long as there's express permission of an entity or person with legal authority, that would be permitted. Is that indeed the case?
Analogize it to having a UPS person deliver a package to your house and come in through your back door. We don't allow that. There's a certain, the front door, if you will, is open to the public. Unless you say, sure, bring in my package through the back door. It's essentially your property, and under normal trespass laws, you have certain protections of that property. This bill doesn't change that. If you say, if you want something delivered through the back door, you say, and feel free to use the back door. This is a bill that we're not talking about commerce here per se. What we're talking about is where you have the right to have control over your own property. And with drones being elevated instruments that now can fly over that property, you should be able to make the decision about whether that's acceptable to you or not if it's on your property.
And one follow-up question, given that on many properties you may have commercial or residential tenants, would those tenants under your law, would they be able to provide that express authority if they're not the owners of that property but have legal rights to that?
If you are lawfully on a property, you do have those rights of privacy on this bill or on any trespass bill.
Okay. Given that, again, I know we're talking about some things that maybe sometime into the future I am interested in seeing potential commercial applications and open to that. But with that and with what you've just raised, I'm also fine with moving this forward and happy to make that motion.
Thank you. We do have a motion. Is there a second? Second. Do you have a motion? Second. Further questions? Mr. Wagner.
Thank you, and Senator, I also appreciate the bill. It's a great discussion, one that we've had with respect to a couple of other bills. I have no doubt we will be having in the future. A couple of quick points for you to address. One, I think, is with respect to the security issues that have been raised by the Chemistry Council and entirely legitimate concerns. Why not just a separate bill dealing with those concerns rather than something that is broader, that strikes me as perhaps a bit premature. We know this technology is just in its infancy. I think, as was said or certainly was alluded to, we have an existing framework for privacy and trespass. We have several other bills that were solicitous of privacy. Why not deal with the security issues themselves and kind of wait for this industry to grow a little bit, and let's see how some of the other bills working their way through the House this year play out, protecting privacy rather than what I think is maybe take too big a bite of the apple.
Well, interesting point. The technology's there. We're starting to see it being used. There are no rules, and so I believe that industry, commerce, individuals really just want to know what the rules are. And with the sort of the creativity that we have, once those parameters are set, they'll be able to work with them. And that's why this bill really doesn't try to address everything. In fact, when I first introduced the bill, I got phone calls from the state parks. Would you please prohibit flying drones in our state parks? I got calls from a variety of different places. Please add that to the bill. I just wanted to create a concept. That is that you have certain space that in which you are entitled to protection from trespass. And airspace with the use of drones is also one of those areas. If you can't trespass on somebody's property, you can't, without their permission, you can't fly a drone over that property without their permission. From there, if at some point there's a desire in a matter of policy to create exemptions for that I think will come as we start having additional discussions. I think what is significant is the fact that other states are also realizing that there are no rules and we have to create some. This is a very generalized rule for very specific circumstance, i.e. flying over one's property. As was mentioned, security areas, that is their private property. And that's what we're talking about here, is the right. What are the laws of trespass? And let's just simply extend them to drones. If we want to have a conversation later on, once we have set basic parameters, I would welcome that, and I'm sure that it's something, because privacy in California, as you know, Assemblymember Wagner, is a fundamental right here in this state. We value our privacy. And when drones are flying, as they are today, I mean, there are instances where one of my favorites is a situation in New Jersey where a drone was flown into a fellow's backyard, only in New Jersey perhaps. He took out a shotgun and he shot it out of the air and was sued by the drone owner. And the drone owner won, and this fella had to compensate the drone owner for the cost of his drone because there are no rules. So this sets some of those rules, and I believe it would be, if we just simply allow this to go on unfettered, then suddenly there will be already established circumstances making the creation of rules more difficult.
Well, okay. I've had an opportunity to dig into this area of the law. One of the lawyers in my firm is fast becoming recognized as one of the experts in the subject. He and I have co-written an article on it. I mean, I've kind of dug into this, and what worries me a little bit about the bill, and Mr. Pollack, perhaps you can address the issue of just dealing with a carve out for security issues. But what worries me, the bill just says we have these existing laws with respect to privacy. We're just going to apply them wholesale to drones. And we know that somewhere down the road the FAA is going to come in, or somewhere down the road we're going to have to tweak these laws. And I guess for purposes of just making the rules clear, we're making the rules perhaps harsher than they need to be, or perhaps a little bit unworkable. I mean, trying to fly one of these things and not go within 300 feet of somebody's private property, I mean, it's just operationally very difficult to do. So I know you're trying to set clear rules. I don't know that the rules are not too harsh, in addition to being too clear, is my concern. Thank you.
Well, and I appreciate that. Again, this is a start, and again, we tried to make it, rather than make it complicated, I believe that the FAA will have jurisdiction and has already asserted jurisdiction 500 feet and above. That's why we went to 350 to give a little room. The Oregon law is 400 feet. That seems to still be well established. And of course, there may be a challenge if the FAA comes in and says, no, we want to control all airspace. But at this point, we put 350 just to be safe with what exists already. I view this as a really modest bill. I didn't want to get into the weeds too deeply, but just set some parameters so that people have a sense that rights of trespass also apply in the flying of drones.
Thank you. No other questions or comments? Senator, can we take that as your close?
I would accept. I'd like to add that the California Police Chiefs Association is also in support of the bill, and with that, I would ask for your support as well.
Thank you. We do have a motion and a second. The motion is do pass. Call the roll, please.
Stone?
Aye.
Stone, aye. Wagner? No. Wagner, no. Alejo? Chow? Aye. Chow, aye. Chu? Aye. Chu, aye. Gallagher? Garcia? Aye. Garcia, aye. Weber? Aye. Weber, aye. Mainshine? Aye. Mainshine, aye. Thurmond?
That bill is out. Has enough votes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members.
Thank you.